What is going on, guys? Drumvillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content, and we're bringing you guys another Master League team. Now, this team is very similar to the team that I showcased last season, which was Groudon on lead, Dialga in the safe swap position, and then Lugia in the back. But since then, Dragontail has had a massive buff, which makes Lugia much stronger. It's a nice spicy choice for Groudon, and then we decided to add a bit of versatility to the team. We wanted to bring Mewtwo into the safe swap position instead of Dialga. Now, these battles are going to be taking place in the Master League Classic. We don't have any XL Legendaries built yet, so we're going to use this team in Master League Classic. Maybe down the line it'd be pretty strong in Open Master League, but again, the concept of XLing Legendary Pokemon at this point is impractical. It's very difficult to get XL candies for a lot of these Legendaries at this point. That might change with GoFest depending on how hard you're planning to raid, but for now, we're happy to stick in Master League Classic. Now, you might be thinking, how does this team deal with Giratina and Yveltal? Because those are obviously very strong counters to both Mewtwo and to Lugia, and you'll see, because those matchups are going to come up in this video, and you'll see how we deal with them and how we handle them. You can also flip this team around and put Lugia in front, keep Groudon in back, but I prefer Groudon in the front for matchups like this. Zekrom is, well, Groudon normally does well against Zekrom anyway, just because you're going to double resist the wild charge, but look at the Dragontail damage, absolutely melting Zekrom. So what we can do here is we can shield once and we can farm down completely. Zekrom cannot get to a second charge move, no matter what it is, before we farm them down completely. So now we've got a crap load of energy to throw at this Dialga. We figure, screw the bait, let's go for the Earthquake. Bang! Dialga's one shot, he's out of there. So now there's Excadrill back, and Groudon is absolutely running rampant on this team. He's going to get the shield here, because Excadrill is super squishy and can't even afford to take a Fire Punch, let alone an Earthquake. And we're going to let Groudon go down here. He's done his part, he's done his work. And now we're going to bring in Lugia. And the main thinking here is that, yeah, Lugia doesn't do super well against Excadrill. It can put in work because the buffed Dragontail damage and energy really does start to add up. But we can survive at least 2 Rock Slides, and because we're double resisting the Mud Shot, it can't farm us down. So we can just keep chipping away, pressure them to throw as fast as possible, because they're not going to be able to leave this matchup with much, if any, excess energy. And then we can guarantee Mewtwo can get to a Side Strike and finish it off, or maybe even just Psycho cut down at this point, because his Excadrill is getting pretty low. So we figure we'll let this go down now, and then just guarantee we've got the shield to get to the Side Strike on Mewtwo, and the opponent's gonna surrender there, and that's a GG. Now, with the shift in the Master League meta with some of the new legendaries, Kyogre has a lot more play than it used to have, and therefore you're gonna see quite a few. So we've got one on lead here, so we're gonna swap straight to Mewtwo. We figure Mewtwo's likely to pull a Steel out, and has some play against it, whereas Lugia, if you swap into that and they bring in a Melmetal, you can't get shield advantage. Lugia is a lot stronger now with the buff Dragontail, but it still can't deal with Melmetal. You have to land, I think, 2 Aeroblasts or 1 Aeroblast to get the buff and then a Sky Attack, and you have to commit shields in first in that matchup, so it's not a good matchup to have. So we bring in Mewtwo. If they bring in Melmetal, it's brilliant, but here they bring in a Dialga and we're able to get a shield and get off 2 Side Strikes. Well, we get both shields actually, which is super nice for us. And we can either bring in Groudon or Lugia here at this point and farm down completely. We figure we'll bring in the Groudon, farm this Lugia down, and then we've got, with the Dialga down even, sorry, not the Lugia, then we'll have big energy. But this was the mistake. They swap in a Groudon and we swap out to Lugia. Lugia is a better, much better answer to Kyogre than Groudon is. We had energy advantage against this Groudon, so we could have easily made it to Earthquake, landed the Earthquake and done big damage, and then swapped out to Lugia. So then Lugia would have had some energy and would have had quite a bit of health left on Groudon to chip away at the Kyogre with the Dragontail. We would have been in a much stronger position, but here our Lugia is pretty low now, and that Kyogre's full health, and we're thinking, well, maybe we can still get to the Earthquake on Groudon and finish it off, but we're not there yet. So we still got to land another Dragontail, which goes through here, but we're not going to survive this Surf, and it's going to take us out, and then it's going to be able to waterfall down our Lugia. And I was kind of mad at myself, for I felt like I threw that match away, because when they swapped to Groudon, we should have easily been able to take them out. but you can't win them all. GG's. So we're going to jump into the next matchup, and we've got a Mewtwo on lead. And Mewtwo lead is generally not that good for Kyogre and Groudon, just because it outpaces to the Psy Strike. The Psy Strike does massive damage because it's not resisted, but we can take one. So really, I think the play with a Mewtwo lead really should be to just let the Psy Strike go through and throw the Fire Punch and just soft lose, but while keeping a shield. But we decide in this match we're going to commit both shields and farm the Mewtwo down and keep Groudon alive. We feel like they've got to steal him back. And now they bring in Kyogre here to meet our Groudon, and they've got Dialga in back. So there was a steal in back, but not the Melmetal that we were kind of hoping to pull out, because with more shields, Mewtwo and Lugia can still do pretty well against Dialga. That's the good thing with this team, is that really everything on the team has quite versatile damage. Groudon can do good damage against flyers now with Dragontail and Fire Punch. Mewtwo can threaten steals, and the Psy Strike covers everything else. And Lugia's Dragontail damage really adds up, and Sky Attack and Aeroblast are quite threatening to most things in the meta. Now we're going to be able to Fire Punch and get this Dialga out of here, but that Kyogre is going to prove to be, well, it's not going to prove to be problematic. We still got a full health Lugia, and unless this Kyogre has Blizzard, which they're throwing at this point, so we know that they don't, this is fine. Even if it's a Thunder, we can take it comfortably. Lugia is incredibly tanky. We can make it to the Aeroblast and just annihilate this Kyogre. If they had been building up towards Blizzard, I think I would have thrown the Sky Attack on the 9th, just to make sure we got it through to hopefully take them out, but that's a GG. Stepping up now to the 4th match against MHF 90, and they're going to be bringing in a Melmetal lead. So this is the lead you really do want to catch with your Groudon, because even with Dragontail, Melmetal cannot win that matchup, and they swap out into a Giratina, and we kind of facepalm here a little bit, because we're swapping a Mewtwo to a Giratina, which is absolute insanity. At least we should have swapped in Lugia, because Lugia gets walled by Melmetal, whereas Mewtwo has some chance against it with having Focus Blast, and even a couple of Psy Strikes puts it pretty low. But we're risking lining Lugia up with Melmetal, which absolutely walls it. So this is kind of a big mistake here, to be honest, and they get the boost. So now this is super scary. We're going to try and farm down with Dragontail. We're able to do it. So we've got big energy, but we've lost switch advantage. So it all comes down to what they've got in back, and it's a Garchomp. Now, you're going to see again the Dragontail absolutely smashing Garchomp to pieces here. We're going to bait with Fire Punch. We get the bait, which is an absolute lifesaver. And I think we weren't really sure whether to swap out to Lugia or not, but really Lugia's got limited play against Melmetal, so we should bring it in here at least to try and catch a move, because we've left our Groudon so low here, and we're without shields, that Melmetal can take us out just with a Rock Slide without even, doesn't have to throw a superpower and debuff itself. So against the Garchomp, we should have probably swapped in to Lugia, maybe tried to catch a move, and then obviously Lugia would have lost to Melmetal, but then we may have been able to leave the matchup with Groudon with enough energy to finish off the Garchomp before it got to a charge move and took us out. But it's great in hindsight saying that you should have done this, you should have done that. It's still a relatively close match, because this Aeroblast is going to do a big chunk of damage, but it's not going to be enough. It will get it pretty low, just to the edge of the red. We get the boost, but it's not going to be enough, because this Rock Slide is going to take us out, and that's going to be a good game. Now, this next matchup was kind of humbling in a way, because this is the match I'm thinking of. We get the second worst lead after Kyogre, Ho-Oh, which even with Dragontail, Groudon struggles against. We swap to Mewtwo, and they've got a Giratina in the back. So this is scary. You know, Giratina beats Mewtwo fairly comfortably, and Ho-Oh absolutely walls Groudon. But we hope this is an ominous wind. No, we shield it up, and then they get the boost. So not only have we got an absolute wall to Groudon, and we've got Mewtwo stuck against Giratina, it's now a boosted Giratina, which is absolutely awful for us. We're not able to get the next Psy Strike off to even get another shield, and we're just going to surrender there. I was not impressed with that match. So, a matchup that suffers strongly for a Groudon lead with Dragontail is Dialga. Dialga does a lot better against Groudon if it's running Dragontail and not Mudshot, because you get to the Earthquakes and Fire Punches a lot slower, and you're doing decent damage with the Dragontail, but it's not super effective because it's being resisted by the Steel as well as weak to the Dragon, so it balances out. And that means that to win that matchup, you have to give up a shield with Groudon against Dialga with Dragontail. But they swapped out immediately in this matchup, which we're kind of happy with because it lets us get, well, it lets us lock Mewtwo onto this Excadrill, which I don't know if it's the best decision, but we're able to get 2 shields out of this guy. And we're going to let Mewtwo go down now, and I think we're just going to bring in Groudon and probably Fire Punch this Excadrill out of existence. And we've got our shield advantage, which means Lugia can definitely get to an Aeroblast against the Dialga, but it's a Kyogre in back. And this is kind of bad news. Like, because we can win this matchup against the Dialga with Lugia, but then Lugia probably won't be able to put in enough work into the Kyogre to flip this match back around for us. They do Draco Meteor, and that is absolutely huge. So now we can throw an Aeroblast, which will do big damage, and then we decide to go for a Great. And that's very important because we wanted to do slightly less damage because they debuffed themselves. We knew that we could afford the extra farm to get to another Aeroblast against the Kyogre. If we'd have gone for an Excellent on the Aeroblast, we would have not got enough energy off the Dialga to be able to throw the Aeroblast at Kyogre. So that's a GG's, and I was very happy with my play there in that match. I was convinced I couldn't win that game, but them throwing that Draco really gave us a win con there. So, this matchup we get a Kyogre lead and we swap straight out to Mewtwo, and what I like to do is, often Kyogres like to stay and throw the Surf before they swap out, but if you're fast with Mewtwo and you get to that Side Strike before they throw it immediately, because you either force a shield or you get the Kyogre really low so that then Groudon will be able to handle it much better later on if they do win switch advantage. So here they bring in a Mewtwo to punish our Mewtwo. They actually caught a Side Strike, which was quite big because then we couldn't threaten a Shadow Ball. So we're just going to let Mewtwo go down, and I think we're going to just bring in Groudon. No, we decided to bring in Lugia. We're going to gamble that they don't have Shadow Ball or Ice Beam or Thunderbolt. We're going to assume it's Side Strike and Focus Blast. And we're looking to build up a lot of energy off this Mewtwo. They are throwing Side Strikes, and Lugia I think can survive. I think it takes 4 Side Strikes plus all the Psycho Cuts to knock out a Lugia, but if they just throw 4 Side Strikes, you can survive it. Now they bring in Dialga, and Lugia is really getting chipped down now by this Dragon Breath, and we're feeling not super confident in this match at this point, but we decide to swap out to Groudon, and they bring in the Kyogre, and we just do not have enough energy. You see that the drawback of Dragontail is that the energy generation is much slower than Mudshot. We're not even able to get off the Fire Punch there. And if we'd have thrown that, it wouldn't have done that much, but maybe we could have farmed down the Kyogre, baited with a Sky Attack and maybe got to an Aeroblast against Dialga. It'd have been a very big if, but it might have been a win con all the same, it might not have been. But you got to go for the win, haven't you? You got to make the plays that can potentially win you the match. We go straight for the Aeroblast in case they don't shield, but they do, and they take us out, and that's going to be a GG. Now, it took me quite a while to get a grasp fully for this team and like when to swap out to Mewtwo and swap out to Lugia, and in this matchup we get a Dialga lead, which is brilliant for us. They swap out to Kyogre, which we would feel is the strongest punish to a Groudon. We can't see what they'd have in the back that is better against Groudon than Kyogre, but we swap in Mewtwo, and the problem with Mewtwo is it does well against Kyogre, but Kyogre can force switch advantage because the waterfall damage is so oppressive and Mewtwo is somewhat squishy. It's not that squishy, but it's pretty squishy. Kyogre can choose to, well, we can either shield here and try to get that last Side Strike off. We decided it's not worth it, we let it go down. We figure we'll get ahead on energy with Lugia, but really when they swapped in Kyogre, we should have brought in Lugia. Lugia does very, very well against Kyogre. You just got to watch out for the Blizzard, obviously. Blizzard's going to do, no matter how bulky Lugia is, it's a Blizzard. If it's super effective, it's going to annihilate whatever it is. We're going to go straight for the Aeroblast here against Dialga, hopefully take it out and then put work on whatever's in the back. We get the attack buff, which is brilliant for us, but we're pretty low on health and it's a Togekiss in back. Now, we can get to a Sky Attack and get the last shield out of him. It pretty much forces it just because we've had a double attack buff. but we're going to get charmed down, and now Groudon's going to struggle to finish this game off because Togekiss, regardless of Mudshot or Dragontail, Togekiss double resist both. So the fast move is doing next to nothing. You see we're slowly chipping away, but that charm damage is really digging in. And we need 2 more Fire Punches to finish off this Togekiss, and we just don't have the health to get there. It'll be close. We figure there's no point throwing until we're at 2, because we know it won't KO, and they get to another Ancient Power, and that's going to really be the nail in the coffin. That's going to be a GG. If we'd have brought Lugia against the Kyogre and forced switch advantage, and then had Mewtwo against the Togekiss, we'd have been in a much better position, but can't win them all. And like I said, we were still learning what we were actually doing with this team. Now here we've got a Lugia lead, and Lugia does very well against Groudon, but it does better against Mudshot Groudon, because you can see the Dragontails are really digging in to Lugia. Despite how bulky Lugia is, we're doing some good damage here, and the Fire Punches are nice extra bits of chip damage. But we decide that we're going to stay in here because Mewtwo our Mewtwo specifically will struggle with Lugia because we've got Side Strike and Focus Blast. So we decide we're going to stay in, not shield, and make them throw all their energy. And I think then we're going to come in with our Lugia and farm down. We're not really sure what we're expecting them to have in back. Lugia is pretty versatile. I presume they'll have an anti-steal, maybe a Kyogre, or maybe something like a Groudon of their own, just because of Lugia's weakness to Melmetal. And they bring in Kyogre, which we're pretty happy to see here. We've got a lot of energy, so we're going to bait with the Sky Attack, because Aeroblast will do big damage. We've all still got shields, so we get a shield out of them, which is nice. And I think we're going to take this because I think we can just survive it. No, we're going to shield. We're not being risky. We're going to go for another Sky Attack because we figure now that we've shielded, they might shield a second time if they're scared of Lugia in the back, and we do get the shield. So now we're just going to throw this Sky Attack, do some chip damage, and then swap to Mewtwo, I think. No, we're going to stay in. We're going to force them to throw, because if they don't, we can get to another Sky Attack because we can just take the waterfalls with Lugia. So now we're going to bring in Mewtwo. We're going to build up quite a bit of energy, probably shield the Surf, and then farm down completely with Psycho Cut. Pray that they've got a Steel or something in back. It's a Groudon, which is good because we can just double Side Strike this thing out of existence and then get rid of the Kyogre. Because like I said, if you've got just one shield advantage against like Kyogres and Groudons with Mewtwo, the amount of energy you can build up is absolutely ridiculous. So we're now going to get to another Side Strike to guarantee that we finish with this Kyogre and take the win, and that's going to be a GG. Mewtwo is scary strong if you've got that shield advantage, and you've got that freedom to get that bit of energy advantage on your opponent. So let's take a look at this next matchup, and we get a Melmetal lead, and it's staying in. Not only is it staying in, it's building up quite a lot of energy. So we're going to do something quite unconventional in this match. So we're going to keep building up, and we figure they're going to throw 2 superpowers and then swap out. So when they throw superpower, we're going to swap to Lugia to catch the second superpower, because the second superpower will do nothing to Lugia. It's double resisted. And then the Melmetal has 2 choices. It can stay in against Lugia, which is its best matchup, while it's double debuffed, which means we can comfortably win this matchup, or it forces them to swap out and we get to save a lot of health on Groudon for later on. And we get to bait out Yveltal, which would have been very good punish to our Mewtwo if we'd have stayed in, let Groudon get weak. So we can do some good work on this Yveltal with Lugia. You see the Dark Pulse does big damage, but they are going to have to throw a second time if they want to take us out before we get to this Sky Attack, but they don't, so we're going to throw. It's going to do some nice damage, but they do shield, so now we've got double shield advantage. We've drawn out a very strong Mewtwo counter. We know they've got a Melmetal back there, which Mewtwo can one-shot. So we're just going to hope that we've got something else that Mewtwo can steamroll over with such a massive shield advantage. So throw the Fire Punch, get rid of Yveltal. We're looking good, and we're just going to stay in here. We figure, well, Groudon does well against Melmetal, so why risk Mewtwo's health to Rock Slides? We might as well stay in here, make them throw a superpower or 2. We're going to throw his Fire Punch, which is definitely going to take out the Melmetal, and then we're going to swap straight to Mewtwo to start getting ahead on energy when this new Pokemon comes in. Let's see what it is. It's a Dialga, so you know what this means. We're just going to build up. We can comfortably shield whatever they throw. get to the Focus Blast, and we're going to knock this Dialga into next century with the absolutely monumental damage that Focus Blast does. And it's always satisfying when you get to do this. We hit the excellent, bang, Dialga ceases to exist, annihilated, and that's going to be a GG. I just want to see that again in slow motion. You love to see it when something like Dialga just gets absolutely annihilated in one shot. Couldn't help myself. So we've got a couple more matches left for you guys in this video, and we're starting off against Hilo Haas 55, and we get another Zekrom lead. And Zekrom, as we said at the start, really, it's just a very dominant matchup for Groudon, just because that Dragontail, when it's super effective, is so oppressive. We can just farm down completely, and then we've got so much energy to dump into whatever we want. And they pull a Togekiss out, and we decide we're going to throw a Fire Punch, get a bit of chip damage, because what this means is that the Togekiss is in Psy Strike range, because normally Togekiss can just survive one Psy Strike from a Mewtwo, and then you're either trying to Psycho Cut down or trying to land a second Psy Strike. But we figure if we throw one Fire Punch already, then the Psy Strike, if it goes through, will take it out. So we can put a lot more pressure on the shields. So we're going to throw this next Psy Strike, and this should, if they let this through, it will take them out. And we're very close to another Psy Strike, which we can hopefully get off, depending on what they bring in. We're pretty low on health. They bring in Dialga, and we're just able to get to this Psy Strike. So we're feeling pretty good about this. We've still got a reasonably healthy Groudon. It's got another Fire Punch ready to go, but we're going to build up to the Earthquake first. They try to catch on Zekrom and just get absolutely wiped out just by the Dragontail. And now we've got a bunch of energy to dump into this Dialga. We get the last shield, and we're going to go straight into Lugia. And the reason we do this is because Dialga's only option to take us out fast enough here is to throw a Draco Meteor, if they've got it, which would debuff their attack and buy Groudon some more time just to finish them off. But they throw a Thunder, which we can comfortably take, throw a Sky Attack, and we can farm them down, and they surrender. That's going to be a good game. Now, we're going to take a look at a matchup where we had a Groudon Mirror at the start of the match, and you can play this two ways. You can stay in and bait with Fire Punch, which I sometimes like to do, or you can swap out to Mewtwo, because Lugia has a good matchup, and you can possibly line that up. Plus here, in this matchup, we bait out a Melmetal, which is pretty nice because this means that Groudon gets to deal with it if Mewtwo loses, and then Lugia is pretty free in the back. And we've landed the bait with the Psy Strike, so now we're going for the Focus Blast. Are they going to let it through? Bang, they do! Suck on that Focus Blast Melmetal. And now they bring in Groudon, which is pretty nice for us because I think we can get to a Psy Strike here. Yeah, we're going to shield this up and get this Psy Strike off just to pressure either big damage or getting the shield. If they let this go through, then we can farm down with either Lugia or Groudon pretty comfortably. And now they've got no shields, so the potential for Aeroblasting, whatever they've got in the back, is looking pretty good too. We're going to let this go through. I'm pretty sure they've got Fire Punch yet, so we don't need to worry about this. We're going to build up a lot of energy. We're not going to shield this either. We're just building up, building up. We want to make sure that we can make it to Aeroblast after we take out this Groudon. So we're going to throw the Sky Attack here. She'll finish off the Groudon, and then let's see what they've got in back. It's a Mewtwo. We're going to go for the Aeroblast and take it straight out. Here we go. They can't shield it. Mewtwo's going to get wiped out by this. Bang! Mewtwo's gone. Definitely just upset my microphone, but those double nukes wiping out Pokemon in the same game is super satisfying. You love to see it. No disrespect to the opponent, it's a GG, but you can't say that isn't super satisfying. Now, Giratina lead. What do we do with it? Well, with this team, Groudon is the best answer. And that might sound like madness, but look at how much damage those Dragontails are doing. It's really chipping away. And we know we can survive Shadow Ball or Ominous Wind, whichever it is. It's the Shadow Ball. I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake, and either this is going to take out the Giratina or it's going to get a shield. And then they're going to have to throw again before they get farmed down, so they let it go through. So we take Switch Advantage, and we're going to swap straight out to Mewtwo because we think whatever they've got in back is going to struggle with Mewtwo if they got a Giratina lead. And they had a Conkeldurr for a split second, which is really nice because Lugia as well as Mewtwo do really well against Conkeldurr. And this way we can bait out this Melmetal, put some work in on with Mewtwo, ideally finish it off with Groudon, and then Lugia's free to sweep the Conkeldurr in back. Now, I think we're going to shield this up, yeah. We need to put more work into this Melmetal, really. We had quite a bit of energy on Mewtwo as well, but our Groudon is pretty low. So we just want to throw these Side Strikes, get this Melmetal out of here, and I think they let this go, yeah. So they're committing 2 shields into Conkeldurr, and if we had Dialga or Melmetal in the back, this would be pretty scary. Conkeldurr can do a lot of work with 2 shields. We're able to even the shields out there with Side Strike. We might just get to, no, they're forced to throw, and I think we're gonna let this go through. Nope, we're gonna shield, okay, we're gonna shield. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not on the same wavelength apparently. Yeah, we were close to that Side Strike, that makes a lot of sense. Force the second shield. Now we can come in with Lugia. Lugia can comfortably take a Stone Edge. It might be able to take 2, possibly. Let's see how much this does. Yeah, not quite half. So Lugia can take 2 Stone Edges, but we're able to get to the Sky Attack. I'm gonna be taking out this Conkeldurr, and that's gonna be a GG. And that's where I'm gonna leave you guys with this video, with just one more match. I did do a lot of battles with this team. I'm still battling with this team, and we're climbing up towards expert rank, but you can't show them all. There isn't enough video time in the day, and I wanted to show you guys kind of some of the wins, some of the losses, and a variety of leads and team combinations in the back, just to show you kind of how the team works overall, rather than showing all the wins, all the losses, a bunch of Melmetal leads, a bunch of Kyogre leads, you know, kind of the same matchups playing out over and over again. So don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more videos, more teams. If you're already subscribed, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch you guys next time.